And welcome back to the Mood on Your Premier breakfast show. That is each and every weekday here on Kiona TV, the one, the only, on channel 398 for those who are catching us on Azam TV, and channel 803 for those who are catching us on digital terrestrial television. Most of the times we're not about to have an exclusive interview. Always make it a culture here on the Mood on that we preempt before we have the guest in studio. But nonetheless, the show has to go on. We are joined in a studio by one district governor, and his name is Gabriel Chipara. He is responsible for Rotary district for the year 2023 into the year 2024, and his main focus is on the following countries: Malawi, Zambia, Mozambique, and not leaving out Zimbabwe. So he is based in Harare, although he is currently in Bulawayo to assess some of the work that is being done in the region. Beautiful viewers at home, help me welcome in studio Gabriel Chipara. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
Very well, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for making time for us as Kiona TV.
It's always a pleasure appearing on TV and talk about what we're doing as Rotarians.
Absolutely amazing, and congratulations for being the governor.
Thank you very much. It's now 3 months since I got into office.
How does it feel?
It's been good, but as you know, when you're dealing with humanitarian work, there's lots of work to be done. There's a need everywhere that you are looking for projects, and the good thing is we are doing the work that we're supposed to be doing so far.
That's good. So what is the work that you're supposed to be doing as Rotary?
To start with, Rotary is an international organization that is found in 225 countries worldwide. What we focus on is helping those that are less privileged than ourselves. We all know that governments wherever in the world cannot satisfy all the humanitarian needs of their populations. Now, given that background, we as Rotary in Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, and Mozambique, we have about 72 clubs, and each club is responsible for going out there to look for projects, new projects, and once those projects have been identified, we then look for the funding, and once the funding has been found, then we implement the projects. Quite
interesting and profound right there. But let's focus on some of the work that you've done since you've been in office for the past 3 months, and with a major focus or taking a look at what transpired in Mzilikazi, should be in the month of July, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
correct me if I'm wrong.
July, yes.
Yes, the outreach that was held there. Let's talk about that.
To start with, when we are looking for projects as Rotarians, we focus on 7 areas: peace building and conflict resolution, maternal and child health, disease prevention and treatment, economic development economic and community development, water and sanitation, supporting the environment, and basic education and literacy. So there's about 7 areas. So the one that we did in July falls under 2 areas, which is maternal and child health, because we're looking at both mothers and children, and also just general disease prevention and treatment. The one that we had in July has been happening in other parts of Africa, and in July we had it both in Harare, Chitunguiza, and here in Bulawayo. The Bulawayo one, we deliberately chose to go to Mzilikazi because we felt that's where the need was highest.
All right.
Now, the question is, what is Rotary Family Health Day, which is what we are running with in terms of the description of the actual project.
All right.
We basically look at the health needs of the communities that we are looking at. Number one, if you look at Zimbabwe, we only have about 8% of Zimbabweans that have medical aid. Only 8%.
Yeah.
Which means the bulk of the population do not have medical cover. And if you also look at the fact that most people do not have the cash to go and see a private doctor or even to go to hospital, it then becomes imperative on our part as Rotarians to say, okay, health is one of the areas where we need to look at.
Yeah.
So what we did was we sent enough notice to the residents in those particular areas to say that on these particular days we'll be coming for 2 or 3 days. If you feel you have a medical condition that you want looked at, whether it's you, the parent, or your children, or the whole family, just feel free to come through, register, and you'll be looked at. That's exactly what we did.
All right.
Well, on our part, we just had to then to look for corporate partners, we had to look at the medical professionals, we had to ask Rotarians and also Rotaractors, because in Rotary, it's an age thing. Not anymore, but yeah, it used to be an age thing.
Yeah.
Rotaract refers to those who are just after high school, and anyway up to the old cutoff was 30 years old, not anymore.
All right.
So those youngsters actually came in numbers, I think about 50.
Wow.
Why? Because they also have their own clubs here in Blawayo, or the southern region, together with 7 clubs, including Plumtree, here in Blawayo. So we come together. Obviously, we then need to speak to the medical professionals, whether it's optometrists, ophthalmologists, general doctors, nurses, nurse aides, and even medical tests were being done. So at the site, we would literally walk away having been tested, having had a consultation with a medical professional, and be given the medication if the condition has the drugs stocked at that particular point in time. I must say the response was phenomenal.
All right.
And it also speaks to the need for us as Rotarians to look for more funding. And when we talk about funding,
Yeah.
we have the Rotary Foundation, which is responsible for bigger projects, but at the same time, we partner with corporates in the area in which we are having the project outreach. So in the case of the one we did in July,
Yeah.
we reached out to Blawayo-based corporates,
Yeah.
and we'd like to thank them for coming through, whether it was in cash, in water, drugs, medical consumables, etc., etc., even just to give us a space where we could do our work. And
Yeah.
thanks to Blawayo City Council Health Department, they came through big time because, as you know,
Yeah.
city councils, they put clinics, they put doctors, they put nurses, and they came through big time. And I hope that partnership that we started with the Blawayo City Council Health Department will continue going forward.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Chapara, for taking us through that outreach that was held here in Blawayo in the month of July. But is there any specific reason as to why such an outreach couldn't or could have been taken to a rural community?
Good question. The need is even greater in the rural areas.
Sure.
And when we did our report back after that first outreach in July, that point actually came up and said, okay, next time, funds permitting, we actually need to go out in the rural areas. Why? Chances are the clinics don't have the drugs. Chances are you may not have doctors visiting those areas often enough for the residents to be able to be seen by a qualified doctor on a regular basis. So I'd like to thank you for asking that question, and maybe when we come back for this second outreach, we'll let you guys know so that at least to talk about it on Kayana, so that more and more people get to know about the program before it happens, so that we get to serve even more people than the last time.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Chapara. But let's talk about some of the work that's been done in the southern region, that is Southern Africa. You are focusing much into the countries that you already spoken about earlier on, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Mozambique. So what has been your appreciation when we're looking into those countries and Rotary?
Let me jump to one of our biggest projects as we speak.
Yeah.
It falls under the eradication of malaria program. And as we speak, it's the biggest funded project under the program of scale, which is the type of grant that we have under the Rotary Foundation. $6 million that was given to Zambia to eliminate malaria. You can imagine how many people are affected by malaria during the rainy season. And given the fact that in the 4 countries, the issue of medical insurance is almost like the same in terms of statistics, the impact that's going to be achieved by that project, I think it's a 2-year project. You can imagine based on the amount of money that's available, it's huge, number one. Number two, having seen how impactful that project has been in Zambia, and Zimbabwe is also equally affected by malaria. In fact, when you think about it, malaria kills quite a number of people when you look at the stats. So we then said, okay, why not have the same program here in Zimbabwe? And we are looking at all the districts in Zimbabwe, and the beginning of last month, September, we were in Lusaka for our Zone Institute for the whole of Africa.
Yeah.
And we actually put a case for ourselves as Zim to say, okay, we also need a similar project because equally the suffering is almost the same.
Yeah.
Now, moving away from malaria, the number of boreholes that we've drilled. Why? Because even in the urban areas, not everyone is getting water every day. But we're focusing more on rural areas where when you drill a borehole, either at a school, at a mission hospital, or just in a community, people are then able, one, to get water, clean water. Remember, in our areas of focus, we talked about water and sanitation. So that's where the boreholes come in. But having said that, like one of the meetings I had yesterday with the Rotary Club of Belmont here in Malawi.
Yeah.
Yes, the borehole has been sunk, but phase 2 is now saying, how can the same water be used to grow vegetables, to grow your onions, so that at least you can then have vegetables which then goes to your diet again.
Right.
And once you have those vegetables, sometimes you even sell. So we're now addressing the economic community development side of things. So as Rotary, every project that we embark on looks at sustainability to make sure that when we have handed over, the beneficiaries are able to proceed on their own, because we also then go back and check whether they are still doing that which we're supposed to do, number one. Number two, if they need any additional help, we then look for funding.
All right.
The good thing is, whenever we have asked corporates, whether it's in Rwanda, whether it's in Harare, whether it's in Kwekwe, Rwanda, where we're trying to start a club, or Mutare, Jipingi, where the other clubs here in Zimbabwe, they always come through. Why? Rotarians are leaders in the community, professionals, and managers in companies. So it then becomes easy for us as Rotarians to then approach whichever networks in the corporate world that we can access.
All right, so quite a profound right there. But let's focus at how such work that is being done in Southern Africa feeds into the global Rotary goals.
Good question. Remember at the beginning I was talking about Rotary being an international organization.
Sure.
And on the funding side, I made reference to Rotary, us looking for the funding.
Yeah.
Now, Rotary International has what we call the Rotary Foundation. It's international, based in the USA. Now, when there is a project, when we are looking at a project that costs more than $30,000, that's when we then apply for funding from Rotary International through the Rotary Foundation. But when it comes to what we focus on as a governor, as clubs in any particular 12-month period, because my role is only for 12 months as a governor.
All right.
A club president's role is only for 12 months. And speaking of that, the person coming after me is already there.
All right.
And the person coming after the person coming after me is one of the ladies that is sitting in the reception there, Bessie and Blair.
Right.
So goals are set just generally at international level, because every governor then goes for training in January, like an international assembly of all the 524 governors worldwide, where we set the tone. Now, speaking of goals, one of the areas we are focusing on this year is mental health.
Sure.
Now, imagine how people were affected by COVID, being closed up in your yard. You can't leave. You're now doing like a road chicken. You can't leave your yard. So that affects a lot of people. Then link that with substance or drug abuse. So this year, a lot of clubs have been asked to focus on mental well-being for our residents, for our club members even, because as much as you may assume that because we are Rotarians we don't have those issues, you may also have Rotarians who might need some assistance when it comes to mental health. I like it when our Rotary International president was sharing his story in Orlando, Florida, when he was being trained.
Sure.
He shared a story about how he lost his brother through mental health issues. Now, you can imagine when a person with all the cash they can ask for, worrying about mental health, what more of us here? Worse here in Africa, specifically in our region, and Zimbabwe in particular, when there are no jobs. You just get up every morning, no money, no job, nothing to do. You can't even find money to at least occupy your mind with some schoolwork because the money is not there. So the issue of mental health is one area where at an international level we're being asked to focus on. But as usual, girl empowerment is not left out. We also have been asked to look at the empowerment of girls, whether it's education, whether it's just general health. I think there's one project that is looking at sanitary pads where you actually make them, you teach the girls to make the sanitary pads, you buy them the sewing machines, teach them how to do it. So they'll be making their own sanitary pads and also sell to other less privileged girls at a much more reasonable price than you'd find in the shops. So on the girl empowerment side, they say if you empower a girl, you empower a nation. Yes, I know I'm a man, but I can still say it because I'm also a father to a daughter. So when it comes to how we set our Rotary goals internationally, it then trickles down to Africa, because our zone is Zone 22, which encompasses all the 18 districts in Africa and all the clubs in the African zone. And then from there, you come back to our district, Zambia, Malawi, and Northern Mozambique. And then lastly, you come down to the individual clubs. So it's all a well-structured way of making sure that whatever has been set as the goal at international level, it trickles down to club level.
All right, quite a profound work, and some of the plans that Rotary has for the country as well as the globe at large. We're quickly running out of time, Governor, but what are your parting shots?
My parting shot is, having listened to what Rotary is all about, having heard what we do as Rotarians, having heard what we do when it comes to partnering with companies, whether it's in Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Northern Mozambique, or anywhere else in the world where there's a Rotary Club. Why should you not think about joining Rotary? Why should you not try to find out, including you, why should you find out what part you can play either as a Rotarian or as a partner to Rotary, so that at least as we go about doing our work in terms of projects as Rotarians, we'll find it easier. One, funding. Two, having more hands. Because in Rotary, you need time, you need hands, you need energy, and you need resources. So if you're tuned in today, and if you're not a Rotarian, ask yourself why you are not a Rotarian. Or better still, ask us what you can do to come and join us. And I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to share our story as Rotarians. And I hope that this is the beginning of a partnership between Rotary in Layo and Kayona, because you let us speak to those that we work with in the community.
Thank you so much, Governor. But real quick, you were asking the viewers at home why they're not Rotarians. How can they join the Rotary Club?
If you go to any, so if you go on Facebook, you just say Rotary Club, for example, Matopos, it will pop up. Rotary Club of Beaumont, it will pop up. So once you say Rotary Club of, in this case, let's say Matopos, you can then find contact details there. And when you speak to Matopos as a Rotary Club, should their meeting time not be convenient to your free time, then they can let you get the details on other clubs that meet either at lunchtime or on another day in the evening, which is different from the day that you're not free. So we are all over Facebook. We just say Rotary Club off, the whole list of clubs that in that area will pop up. And for that reason, we think it will be easier for anyone who wants to join Rotary to find a club that is suitable to a time schedule.
All right, thank you so much. That is the District Governor Gabriel Chipara taking us through some of the plans that they have lined up for the year 2023 into the year 2024, and he is responsible for the 4 countries, those being Malawi, Zambia, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe. Thank you so much, Mr. Chipara, for making time for us as GFTV.
Thank you very much for having us, and hopefully we'll come back here and talk to you again.
Sure, thank you so much. So that was the exclusive discussion with the District Governor Gabriel Chipara, taking us through some of the work that has been done since he managed to become the governor in the month of July 2023. You are still watching Guyana TV on channel 398 for those who are catching us on Azam TV, and channel 803 for those who are catching us on digital terrestrial television. But in as much as we are done with this interview, do not touch that remote, because after these messages we are back with the bulletin.